Hello, I'm Dalton Deland. I'm a columnist for the Berkshire Eagle, and this is Eagle Reels, where we take you beyond the news. My very special guest today, singer-songwriter Suzanne Vega. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Suzanne, we share a youth, actually, around Spanish Harlem and also around the Upper West Side of Barnard and Columbia. Uh,
Oh,
Spent time up there. I hung out at the West End Bar at 114th and Broadway, and I think you managed to make it to Tom's Restaurant a couple of blocks down. Is
yes.
is that where Tom's Diner is set?
That's where it originated. Yeah. I went to Tom's restaurant all the time for breakfast or in the middle of the night when I needed coffee if I was studying. And so that became Tom's Diner, since it's easier to sing diner than restaurant.
You're exactly right. Um, I don't, that song evokes for me some combination of a de Chirico painting or some kind of a French New Wave uh, atmosphere. Was there something on your mind?
It was the French New Wave atmosphere, actually. When I was at Barnard, I studied theater. I was in a class called the Dramatic Monologue. And I had also taken classes at Hunter College to follow up on these incompletes I had. And one of them was a film course. And I loved the French New Wave, usually black and white, usually long, slow shots of details of people thinking things. So I felt that this would have been a little monologue in a French New Wave film.
I think in French New Wave, it's like you're either like Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket. Is it Godard or Truffaut for you, or someone else?
Um, I like them both. I remember Truffaut very well, but I also like Godard. Yeah, I can't choose between the two. I mean, they're very different styles, but I loved the whole thing, the whole genre.
Great, great. Well, maybe one day they'll put together, as you've done, a Carson McCullers. Maybe one day we'll put together your songs and French New Wave and mix those up and see how that works. Maybe AI can do it for us.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Now, going back to another of your early hits, Luca, you very bravely have spoken about abuse from your stepfather, and that has inspired many others to come forward and get help. I know that had to have been hard. Was it hard, and did it take some time for you to make that personal link?
It took a long time to write the song. Um, I mean, in the beginning, it was important for me to not write it as myself. I was more comfortable writing it in a persona. And since I was afraid, I chose a persona that was the least like my own. I was a 24-year-old woman, and I chose a 9-year-old boy to write from his point of view. In the end, I was happy I did that. I did not reveal my identity until fairly recently. I was afraid. I was afraid to reveal myself. Um, and I was amazed at the popularity of the song and how many people really understood it and how many people responded with their own stories. And in an interesting way, that gave me the confidence to eventually reveal myself.
Well, it's a very powerful thing you've done for many others, and also obviously a beautiful creative work.
Thank you.
Did did Buddhist teachings help you? I know you follow Buddhist teachings. Have they helped ground you or deal with some of your traumas? And you're in a business that grinds up so many artists.
Yeah, I've been a practicing Buddhist since I was 16. Um, it's it's yes, it is grounding, and yes, it gives you wisdom, and but there's something more profound at work there. It really it they tell you that you can change your destiny. And this is what was appealing to me. The idea that you can change your fate and change your destiny by this everyday practice was important to me. And it's still important to me. And I feel that no matter what you've suffered in your life or what is your fate to suffer, that you can change it through your daily practice. Um, so it's more than just something that's grounded me. It's given me a lot of joy, and I feel that I have, in a sense, expiated karma for myself, and in a strange way for others as well, by letting this come out. Um, so that's a brief answer to your question.
No, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. Now you're appearing at the Mahawi in Great Barrington on October 5, part of your Northeast Swing this fall.
Yeah.
Your longtime collaborator, guitarist Jerry Leonard, is with you. Now,
Hmm.
I know he played with David Bowie.
Yeah.
Is that going to persuade you to perform any Bowie numbers or just strum a chord or two?
Um, I have done Bowie numbers usually because Jerry performs around Christmas with the band with David Bowie's band. So I was thrilled last year when they asked me to come and do "The Man Who Sold the World" with the David Bowie band. But we only usually do that at Christmas, so it's unlikely that we'll do it. But we do a lot of other songs. The tour is called New Songs, Old Songs, and Other Songs. So we'll be doing a lot of songs. And maybe I'll throw in a cover. Might not be David Bowie. Might be another New York songwriter.
Yes, you've done a lot of work. I know you've done an album of your New York songs, putting those together. Now, in addition to Bowie, I mean, some of your inspirations, and perhaps you will do some of their numbers. Lou Reed, Leonard Cohen, Laura Nyro, so many, wonderful departed artists. Do you feel their spirit when you're performing?
Well, I do sometimes. Yeah, I love them so much, and have it. I have absorbed as much as I could from them, especially in the beginning, especially Leonard Cohen, Laura Nyro, um, Bob Dylan. We can add him to that list. And but I also feel, because they're departed, that there's a moment when we have to become our heroes. We have to be those people now that we looked up to. We have to embody them and be them. We have to be we have to be that for the younger generation, or for anybody really who needs to be inspired. So that's how I feel these days. It's like I miss Lou Reed terribly, but we also I have to embody the things that I used to go to him for. You know, I mean, I could talk about that for a long, long time, and I'm sure we don't have that kind of time right now. But uh, that's what I feel these days. We have to be those people that we love.
Well, thank you for carrying it on. It's a bit of emotional archaeology, isn't it?
Yeah, that's alive. That we carry it. We carry it on. We embody it. We keep it alive and moving forward.
Now, in that line, I think you also have a state of mind known as synesthesia. I've worked with several artists who actually have that, where melody is a shape and colors are chords. Stevie Wonder, Billy Joel, Mary J. Blige. Is that something you do have, and how has that informed your work?
Yeah, I do have that. That I've always had that, and in a sense, it got in the way of a more formal music training. I think I tried 7 or 8 times to learn music more formally in terms of piano lessons and this kind of thing, and I could never follow the usual forms. Um, so I thought of it as a problem for a long time, and finally, by the seventh time I tried to learn to read music, I had already sold 3 million records. So I thought it's time to give that up. I just hire people like Jerry who really know music and know how to do all that stuff. Um, And the second part of that story is that I didn't know my birth father until after I released the album Solitude Standing. And I found him that year. And when I met him, I realized that his parents had been touring musicians in vaudeville during the 1930s, and that he had a similar issue. He couldn't read music, but he could play it. It just poured out of him. And he had that similar state of attaching shapes and colors to sounds, and also to emotions, which I also have.
That's amazing. I actually was going to ask you whether it did attach to other things. So that's a kaleidoscopic world that you transit through, isn't it?
Yes, that I have within myself, and it colors the songs and colors my most intimate thoughts and feelings. It's made it difficult at times to express myself in what you call more normal ways. Someone asks what I'm feeling about something, I'm as likely to come out with a texture or a color as I am to say I'm sad or I'm happy. Uh, Sad and happy seem very limited labels compared to what else can go on inside of a person.
I wonder if that also somehow puts spirit into your voice. You're one of those artists with a totally unique voice. We recognize it immediately. I don't even know how to describe it. There's a certain deep or smoky quality to your voice. Is that something that just was also your inheritance or part of your work when you began to sing?
Actually, when I listened to my early demo tapes from when I was a teenager, I had a deep voice, very kind of deep voice. And then later on, I had a sort of breathy voice. And the person who really taught me how to sing, I was thinking about this recently, is the engineer Steve Adabo. And I honestly can't tell you how he did it. He made me stay in the vocal booth and keep singing until I got it right. And now I have it automatically. When I sing, it's pretty much the same way each time. But in those early days with those early demos, I was wildly variable, sometimes too loud, sometimes too soft, sometimes the tone was all wrong. And it was through his patience and his persistence that I finally, in the end, came out with what is now my voice that is, I think, recognizable. So next time I see him, I'm going to thank him for that.
Yeah, a very, very, very talented person. Worked with many wonderful artists.
Steve
Uh,
Adabo.
yes. Um, okay, now I don't know if he's also an influence, but I'm thinking about John Prine and perhaps also Taylor Swift and others who have gone back for artistic and commercial reasons and re-recorded some of their early catalog to regain control. You did this, I think, on one or two albums, or perhaps more. Was it hard to do that?
It was not hard to do that. Here's how that happened. That happened in 2008. I was dropped from Blue Note. I was on their label for 2 years. And I thought, now what am I going to do? I had a very happy 18 years with A&M and two pretty happy years with Blue Note. And I said to my manager at the time, who managed Amy Mann, and Amy Mann was one of the first people also to re-record her catalog, and to have her own record label. So we all decided it was time for me to have my own record label. But the idea of starting new with a bunch of new songs didn't really appeal to me. So I re-recorded almost my entire catalog. It's probably 70 songs that I re-recorded in volumes 1 through 4. And I didn't record them, like I noticed that Taylor Swift, when she did it, she recorded everything note by note. There was no way I could have done that with, first of all, it was a different era. The first album was in 1984. And the way we recorded was so idiosyncratic that there was no way we could have recorded it to be the same. So I thought, we are going to do a stripped down version of all the songs. And then I I sorted them by mood and theme because I didn't want people going, "Oh, I love the first album and I don't know anything after Solitude Standing." I wanted people to see the consistencies throughout the years. So the first one is called it's I can't remember what it's called, but it's the classic songs. It's love songs. It's all the love songs. The second one is called People and Places. So that's the ones like Tom's Diner, Luca, the sort of classics. The third one's called States of Being. So they're the really weird kind of mental, what I call the mental health songs. And then the fourth one is called Songs of Family, and they're the folkiest ones. They're all the ones that I started with songs about my brother, songs about family that are the, so that's the folkiest ones. So that those still exist and I sell them. And it was a really great way to start my new record label.
You blend actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Sort of family and literary. I'm thinking of songs like "We and Me," or again your work with Carson McCullers' work, and you referenced Amy Mann, and I think about perhaps you and I share this curse of an Ivy League education, but how important is written literature, with musical. I mean, Bob Dylan won a Nobel Prize. How do you feel about your work? How much do you feel it in the literary word sphere, and how much is it, music and different?
Yeah. Well, I love reading. I love reading. I've read since I was 3 years old, and I just can't get through the day without reading various types of things. So it's a big part of who I am. I do think a song is different than a poem. A poem can live quietly, happily on a page and doesn't need to sing or dance, whereas a song really, it needs to be sung to really get the full juice of it. A song like Left of Center on the page is not much, but when you sing it, it has a whole resonance that it doesn't have when it's lying on the page. So I think my real gift is in song, but I love reading and the worlds that are created by language and by sentences, paragraphs, metaphor. All of that is very meaningful to me, just in terms of living my life.
Yes, and great writing, I often think has a certain cadence and rhythm. And when I think of some of your songs that are particular earworms like Luca, I'm not sure whether it's that word phrasing or the musical rhythm, but some things, they get into your head like Heartbeat, and those are the songs I think that just, grab us and won't let us go.
Good. I'm glad. That's what I want, because these things grab me and they don't let me go. So by putting them into song, I can kind of let them out into the world, and then hopefully they sit in your mind in a good way.
Well, you haven't let us, your audience, go now for 40 years. And I have to say that in mentioning that we'd be having this conversation, I think more than any artist I've probably spoken with before, everyone I talked to got really excited to hear that I'd be speaking with you. So you have that kind of resonance. And again, here you'll be coming up, around the Northeast, and in particular. I hope that our viewers all come to see you at the Mahawi on October 5. Last question then. Stepping on stage after so many years of this work. By the way, I go back to hearing you in West Side Piers in New York and buying the Fast Folk magazine records. And
Oh, wow, cool.
40 years on, different than it was, or every time you step on, is it something you felt for all these years?
I'm always thrilled to step on the stage. There are times at the beginning of the tour, if it's been a little while, where I feel a little nervous, or I feel I have to be in shape. I have to be in good lung power and feel confident. But for the most part, I love it the way I always have, um, especially when there's new material to try out. And yeah, it's great. I still feel that I'm breaking new ground. I spent time earlier this year in the Midwest, and a lot of people told me it was their first time seeing me. So I still feel that that it's a great thrill.
Suzanne Vega, singer-songwriter, as I said before, emotional archaeologist, real connector to family and spirit, and someone that's enriched so many lives. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And viewers, thank you for joining. If you're already a subscriber to the Berkshire Eagle, thank you so much for that. If you're not yet, please consider becoming one. That's how we conduct conversations such as these and how we keep local journalism alive and vibrant in America. I'm Dalton Deland. I'll see you next time on Eagle Reels and in the pages of the Berkshire Eagle.